What is this, a podcast?
Hey, everyone.
What's up?
What's that?
This is the live stream. Ian, what day is that? I don't know what day it is until you tell me.
Today is March
Wednesday.
18th. One
The
day
day
after St. Patrick's
After St.
Day.
Patty's Day.
So today we're going to talk about, welcome in everybody, alt-med is no-med. Quantum is spooky. Cursive Conspiracy, which is the name of the live stream currently. Something special. And then we'll do TikToks.
And then TikTok.
But I'm not going to tell you what the special is, but you'll find out later.
Mysterious.
Mysterious special.
Yeah, this is our new table, guys.
Oh yeah, check out the
table.
pizza
It only took 6
table.
months.
Good
Yeah,
news.
so
Let me
a
zoom fully out here. There you go.
supporter
Feels
of the
so
show
good.
and friend of mine
It's like
named
super
Keith, who
wide.
does come in to the chat every once in a while. He custom built this, and we are so
Yeah.
happy.
Yes,
so
it's
happy
very
with it.
nice.
This is the first debut, but we did actually record stuff on it.
Yes, we
already.
did recordings. This is the first live
The
debut
live
of the table.
debut. We did some AQ6 and PR.
When do
on
we
it.
sleep?
Actually, not PR.
That's a good
At
question.
At night.
Yeah.
Very well,
Okay.
thank you.
It's time management, friend.
Yes. There's
People
plenty
don't
of
realize
time.
how much time they waste. Like, how do you get everything done? I don't know. I just do it. You just do it.
Yeah.
Schedule your time. You use it wisely.
Ah.
Yeah, but how do you do that and waste 10 hours a day? It's like,
Yes.
well,
We're also time lords, so there's that.
Yes, we
The
are
two
time
hearts,
lords.
You know, there's that kind of thing.
Well, so they asked a question.
Uh-oh.
So I slept for 7 hours and 11 minutes last night, apparently.
pretty
proud of you.
I was awake for 12% of the time, which
Okay.
seems like a lot, but it's actually below average.
Mm-hmm.
My REM sleep was right in the range where it should be. Let's see. My deep sleep was 13%, which is in the range. So my score was 87. I got a B+ on my sleep.
I'm proud
Good
of
for
you.
you.
I wish you had that kind of sleep.
I don't
Jay.
have that. I do not have it. No, I've always been a bad sleeper. But, you know, that's why I got to lay off the cocaine, you know.
No more
Hell of a week
wrinkly
to stop
table. It
sniffing
wasn't
glue.
wrinkly, was it?
There was a
No more
tablecloth
wrinkly.
on it,
There
yeah.
was.
We had it as flat as we could get it, but, you know, we were fitting it to an unusual shape table.
Yeah, this table shape here, like there isn't a tablecloth that I would have to have had something custom made.
yeah.
And this table has always been like a month away, so I was like, oh, we'll have it next month or whatever. And but it's
table
beautiful.
runs on
It's
Dunkin'.
made out of walnut. The craftsmanship is ridiculous. I mean, look at this thing.
very nice.
Perfectly smooth.
It almost doesn't look stained, like it looks like natural, but it is stained.
It's
right?
engineered
There
to
is-
within a millionth of an inch.
yeah, there is some stain on here.
There is that.
It's
wonder-
laser precise.
I wonder how flat it actually
We
is.
We actually don't have the technology today to make this
That's
table.
true.
Oh, I see a
That's
segue
right.
Yeah.
coming.
Good segue. Actually, do you want to do that one since
We
we're talking
could.
about it? I mean, if there's anything else chat wants to bring up while we're here, but that actually does jump into some nonsense that we saw on the internet that we'll get right
Nonsense
to.
on the internet.
Somebody
I mean,
wrote
it's
new
crazy.
table unlocked.
That's
And
A
right.
new table unlocked.
Yeah.
yeah.
I totally relate to that.
All right,
This fucking
this
guy.
fucking
Oh my
is
God!
a
You know what's
classic
fucked
this
up,
fucking guy.
guys? When you hear Tucker Carlson say something and you're like, "Yeah, I agree with what he just said."
I hate
Oh my
that.
God, that feeling to me is so
That is
wrong.
that's annoying.
But yeah.
Oh, we don't have
usually he arrives on the right position for the wrong reasons.
Ian,
I
I
gotta
gotta give everybody some.
Unfortunately.
Hold on.
Or what are we doing?
I forgot.
We can't hear anything.
Yeah.
Oh, right. That's a good.
That-
Well, do you really need to
that did
hear
occur to me.
Tucker Carlson?
Well,
You can tell from his dumb
The
face.
same with what's her name? MTG.
Marjorie Taylor Greene. Oh man,
MTG?
what's the cursive conspiracy? I'm just made of questions now. Yes, you'll find out.
It's
Don't worry.
amazing.
Stay tuned. Stay
It's
tuned.
as stupid as it sounds.
It's as interesting as you would hope. All right, let me play some hold music while Jay is setting that up. All right, here we go.
Whoever they are very busy.
They don't sleep. Whoever they is.
Whoever they are,
They are the true Time Lords.
they do everything.
Christopher Hitchens used to speak highly of Carlson. Yeah, well, you don't have to take everything Christopher Hitchens said with to heart. He was plenty capable of being wrong.
Yeah, the thing is, I don't agree with 100% of anyone,
Yeah,
or 0% usually.
he doesn't even agree with himself. Just
I
out of
don't even
principle.
agree with myself.
Just out of principle.
Yeah,
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, yeah.
I mean,
was
Tucker
very instrumental.
Carlson believes and says a lot of stupid things, but that doesn't mean you can't occasionally be correct about something
Yeah.
or have a point.
That's how they get you. They get you with the
Yeah.
a true thing interspersed with. That's like Alex Jones. Like he had all kinds of
Yeah, that's-
wacky shit, and then you're like, okay, wait a minute.
Yeah,
He
you got to
kinda
throw
stumbled
in.
on
Pernicious.
something,
And like alt med's really good for this.
Mm.
You throw in some common sense, basic things that are correct.
Yeah.
That's what we call the Trojan horse
Mm-hmm.
approach, right? You have something that sounds semi-reasonable, but then once it's inside the gates, you let the nonsense pour out. You know?
It's like the looks maxers. You're familiar with the looks maxing?
Yeah.
They're like
Dumbest term
I
ever.
know. It's like go to the gym. Okay, good advice. Hit yourself with a hammer.
What?
does that work?
Well, they do that for micro breaks to like try to make their jawline stronger or something. It's very strange. It's very
Wow.
strange.
Micro bone breaks.
One of the guys
Wow.
uses meth, micro doses on meth, to try to like stave off hunger. I'm like, bro, the GLP-1 exists. You know, like
Yeah.
Ozempic exists. I guess just do that. Whatever.
No, I think he's onto something.
No, he's on this. All right. Well, we'll look into it. We'll report back. All right. Let's talk about this guy just for a second, since he has some ancient technology that he might have stumbled upon.
There was a disc found in a tomb in Egypt maybe 100 years ago that looks to be, it's made out of basalt, it's made out of stone, but it's the most modern thing you've ever seen. And I would encourage people to look it up if you're on your phone right now. Just look up Egyptian tomb disc. And it looks like an impeller maybe and a motor, an electric motor. But clearly that was not created by a primitive civilization.
Really?
No.
It's the most precisely, first of all, how do you machine basalt? Okay. It's not hand carved, obviously. Look at it.
What? Got to see this.
What's the
thing. What, you have a
explanation for
picture of
that?
it?
I don't think there is one.
And you look at it for about 15 seconds, you're like, no. Ancient culture did not make that. At least the ancient cultures that have been described to me.
Not just the machining, but the mathematics.
There was a
All right.
All right. Everything he said was wrong.
Yeah.
I think
That's a good
literally everything he said was wrong. So this is the Saba Disc,
Yeah.
and it's made out of schist, not basalt, which is it's a very soft, workable metal. Yeah. And yeah, made about 5,000 years ago during the Egyptian First Dynasty.
Here it is, by the way.
Very cool.
Yeah, there it is. So, you look at it and it just happens to have a vibe. You're like, oh, that looks like a propeller or a motor or whatever. Like it would be part of some machine or something.
Yeah, it looks like it was
But
made in the last 100 years.
It's completely coincidental. First of all, that's not made of metal. You couldn't do anything like that with it because it would break, right? It's brittle stone. And it's not precise at all. Like you're seeing it from a deceptive angle. If you look at it edge on, it's like wavy and not symmetrical. It absolutely looks handmade. It does not look machined. It's not, again, precise or symmetrical at all.
But does it work?
There's
though?
no attachment parts that it would be
what does
part
it
of
do?
anything else. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So we don't know exactly what it did, but it was found with a lot of other, I think it was a grave, with a lot of other ritual objects. So probably is a ritual object. And some of the theories are, well, maybe like the central disc was for a candle or incense or whatever.
Not like a rod that would then spin or move up and down. Because
no, you would not spin or move or do anything. No, there's no attachment points for a rod or anything. It's clearly like a candlestick holder. If you just looked at that in the absence of any cultural information, you say, this is the part of a machine. No, it isn't. It's just a stick.
Yeah.
And then maybe the folded in, what looked like folded in parts were like for offerings or to hold other stuff, whatever.
So what are they using it for now?
It had some kind of ceremonial, nothing.
Okay.
It had some kind of ceremonial purpose. And yes, this was clearly handmade with the technology at the time. There's no evidence that it was machine made. It is not precise at all.
Well, that could
it's
have
just
been
completely wrong.
It's made out of stone, though, a type of
schist.
Stone.
Yeah.
Okay, so it wouldn't have warped over time or anything. Not like if it were metal.
Now, if it were
been
made out of steel or like high grade bronze that didn't exist back then, as far as we know, and had the evidence of machining, and of that machine level of precision, or it had places that you clearly would see how it would be attached to something else, whatever. But none of that is true. It's just a piece of stone or, artwork, probably for ritual purposes, that happens to trigger to modern eyes, like, oh, that looks like a piece of a machine.
Yeah.
Right. This is a cool thing because I think it's unique. I've never seen anything quite like this.
We don't. Yeah, that's correct.
But I think it's an interesting litmus test for whether or not you're a skeptical thinker.
Yeah.
Because if you see that and your gut immediately goes, "Oh, that's an engineered, thing that took machinery to make that thing."
Yeah.
And it's 1,000 years old or whatever it is, and then
5,000 years old.
you start thinking along those terms, and you go down that rabbit hole. Versus, a skeptically minded person will look at that and immediately start unraveling, how it could be or why, why it's not what
right. And
claiming.
Scientists would look for specific evidence, like what context was it found in?
That's critical.
Yeah, try to make it all make sense. This is mystery mongering. What Carlson is doing is just trying to exaggerate the apparently gut feeling mysterious aspects of it, and then again it literally exaggerates them by saying things that are not true, and then says, well, it's clearly machined. It isn't clear. Science doesn't just shoot from the hip like that. We actually look at the details, and
look, Ugg makes pretty shadows.
Yeah. All right. That was nice.
That's it.
But that's going to crop up every now and then.
Now, is it artesian or artisanal?
Artisanal.
I hate those words. I do.
I hate to say them. Okay.
We talked
Or is
about
it
this.
Cartesian?
Did we talk about what our...
Yes, we did.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. So let's see what else we got on the docket. We have... Oops.
Oh, what's that?
Wrong computer. What do you mean, what's that?
Just kidding.
All right. We're in a silly mood.
Speaking
Let's
about
go to-
meth, that looks like something that someone would make when they have nothing to do. You know what I mean? Like,
I think there was a lot of free time back in the day.
Oh, this fucking guy. Oh,
All right, so
shit.
yeah,
This
let's
fucking
go
guy.
to some quantum stuff.
Quantum woo, that's impossible.
Artifact. I just want to save that one. All right, here we go. Is this muted? No. Okay.
Can you explain quantum entanglement communications?
Turn it up.
Yes, I don't think most people understand what I'm about to say anyway, but I will.
Do you?
The way quantum entanglement works is that you can take two particles, quantum entangle them, and then take those two particles and move them at any distance in the cosmos. And let's just say, for example, if you quantum entangle two electrons and you have them spinning in the same direction, and then you take one of those electrons and you shoot that thing out 100,000 light years from the original. If you then rotate the spin on the one electron, if you modify it so that its spin changes, the quantum entangled electron at any distance will will simultaneously, in no time, switch its rotation also because they're quantum entangled. So these
That is
communication systems are taking advantage of this aspect of quantum mechanics that most people can't wrap their heads around, and this is what they're utilizing. It's just the new level of science that affords us the ability to communicate at any distance instantaneously.
Okay.
Who is this guy?
Yeah, who is it?
That is the worst description of entanglement that I've ever come across. I mean, it's a legit thing, but when you basically two particles can be correlated based on how they're created. Like if you have a system in your lab that has no spin.
So, Bob, you thought his explanation of you quantum entangle them wasn't good?
That was such a
Well, I mean, yeah, that's an onion layer. He made a decision not to go deep, and that's fun. For this description, you don't necessarily need to go to that.
Well, I'm at
a
the
few-
point he didn't give you any information.
No, right, true. I mean, but his other stuff was the egregious
I
stuff.
know.
So you have a system with no spin, and you could say you spit out 2 electrons somehow, and because the system has no spin, if one is spin up, the other has to be spin down.
Because the net has to be 0.
The net has to be 0. So that's
Yeah.
one way. That's one way to entangle particles. But you can entangle them to be. They both have to be spin up, right?
Yeah.
Or whatever.
But they don't-
It all depends on your lab setup. So
But
you
yeah.
entangle them. And then he says, and then they're separated. And if one is measured to be spin up, then the other one would have to be the opposite.
Yeah.
So you would know what it would be, even if it was 1,000,000 light years away. He says that you change the direction of the spin. No, that's not the experiment.
No.
This experiment
You measure
is,
it.
You
don't-
measure it.
If you
simply
change
measure
it, you disentangle them.
Right, yeah, just decoherence or whatever. And then how do you know? Did I really change it? Because I didn't know what the spin was. Now it's
Right.
how do you even know you reversed the
He
direction?
completely
So-
misunderstands.
So
it.
ridiculous.
So it does not allow for superluminal communication. Period. There is no superluminal communication, but it doesn't allow for it. He's confusing measure with change, and right. So you're not changing the spin. You're measuring the spin, and because it's random, it does not allow for communication. So I came across one analogy. It's like, imagine you have a pair of gloves. You take one
Yes.
glove and you mail it to Australia, and somebody there opens it and said, this is a left-handed glove. You now know the other glove instantly. You know if
Right.
once that information is communicated to you at sublight speed, that it has to be the right-handed glove.
Right.
Right.
You didn't make it into a right-handed glove, and you can't communicate anything that way. It gives you, because it's random, which glove
Right.
was sent to Australia, and which one you.
Is
you would
this an
still
oven
have.
mitt glove or is it like a?
It could be a mitten. It works with mittens as well, or
Okay.
shoes.
Because you could put an oven mitt on backwards. That blows
Yes.
your whole thing right
Yeah,
there.
it does. Yeah.
Right. So I mean, so
But
if you
wait, Bob.
Go ahead.
How when you say if you entangle them, can you explain that at all? Because
If they're created in such a way that they are entangled,
They're
and
correlated.
you don't break the entanglement.
They're correlated
basically.
in a way, whether if one is spin up, then the other one has to be spin down because the system that they were created from had no spin. So you can't just create spin
And out of nowhere.
out of nowhere. All right, spin is conserved, right?
But then they are legitimately.
They're correlated for sure.
They're entangled, yeah.
Depending on the laboratory setup, they're correlated in some way.
What-
They're entangled.
What does entangled mean?
It means that
means
their
that they're-
properties are related to each other in such a way that you can. Once you know one, you know the other. That's what it means.
But if you destroy the one on the left, what happens to the one on the right?
Nothing happens to it. That's the thing. It's not
Yeah.
that something happens to it. It's that, and this is the big debate, right? I don't know. And you tell me what you think about this.
Okay.
Is that when you measure one particle, the other particle, I'm forgetting the term, but it goes from being,
Decoherence?
well, it's not decoherence. It goes from being a probability to
Oh.
collapses.
it collapses the wave function into the thing.
Yeah, I
but
mean,
this is
but
again, this is
that's-
all a metaphor. We're just
Right.
trying to describe our experiments. And the question is, like, once you measure this and it's spin up, does that make the other one spin down, or was it always spin down? Even though it's
Right.
How if it was, right? If it were, like, if you say, all right, you create these two virtual particles at zero spin to begin with, so they must have totality of net zero spin, and that's the degree to which they're entangled. That's the feature that's entangled. So if you measure one as spin up, the other one has to be spin down. But What does that mean, though? Does that mean that they were always spin up and spin down?
Here's
Even
one
though
way-
we couldn't measure it, we couldn't know that until we measure it? Or
Right.
does measuring this as spin up make the other one spin down?
Yeah, it's in the superposition of states, all that. Here's a way to look at it, Jay. Because it was created, because they're entangled, they're created from an initial system here. They're entangled. When they speed away, they're still part of they're one object. They're one entangled object
Yeah.
that has two pieces taken apart. They're
It's like one
described-
equation. It's like one
They're
equation.
described by one wave function. Okay, so they're one object. So that's what you got to wrap your head
Mathematically,
around.
they're one object.
Mathematically, it's still treated quantum mechanically as one object, even though they're separated by
Okay,
vast
I
distances.
kind of understand that, but the real question is there any, in their connection with each other, which is the entanglement, is the entanglement only relevant in the moment that they're created and whatever their properties are? That means that they're entangled because they were created at the same instant, or it is one
Right.
thing that's bifurcated, whatever. But like, if one of them is destroyed, the other one doesn't get destroyed.
No.
No.
But that disentangles them, though.
Okay.
If you do anything, so they only remain entangled as long as you don't screw with them, right?
Yeah.
That's why you have to have, like when we do quantum computers, where we're trying to exploit a very ephemeral
Yeah.
entanglement, they have to be almost at absolute zero. Like we have to keep them in very, very isolated environment, because if they were at room temperature, they would almost immediately decohere.
Yeah, 'cause
stuff is if
right.
they're bouncing into other particles, they're decohered almost immediately.
But does their entanglement mean anything after the moment of creation?
Just that they stay entangled as long as nothing screws with them.
until they interact with the environment in some
Yeah.
way.
But that doesn't answer the question. I mean,
I don't understand.
I know,
the
because we're
question.
trying to talk about something that
That-
we're literally talking about things and thinking about them, and it's not what they actually are.
That's
We're
correct.
using other people's
using-
ways of describing
Right,
it.
we're using the metaphors that people who actually understand quantum mechanics have
Right.
given us.
But like the oven mitts, you're right. You have two of them. One's got to be left. One's got to be right. And
Sure.
the fact that they're entangled means what after they are created? What
it
does
means
it mean?
they're correlated. They share. They share
origin.
They share.
Yes. They're described by one wave function.
Yeah, one. Yeah. The
It's all mathematical,
The
Jay.
correlation is the key thing.
Okay.
Like I said, depending on the lab experiment, if one is spin up, the other has to be spin down.
I
That's
get
the
that.
correlation.
I get that because it's like in
But that's
their
what
creation
entanglement means.
But the moment that those two things go out into
So,
the
all
world,
right, don't try to understand it.
Okay.
Oh, yeah,
Seriously,
man.
don't try to
Quantum
understand
mechanics,
it
man.
in
Don't-
terms of classical physics. That's the whole point, is it's not classical physics.
Right.
You cannot come up with a classic explanation for what's happening.
Okay.
It's just math.
Yeah.
And just forget it. Seriously, just accept that that's what, I know it sounds weird to say this, but just, unless you want to do the work of understanding the mathematics of quantum mechanics, you cannot understand
I
it.
understand this in a
You
way
have-
that I think I get it even better than you two guys. There is no spoon,
Ah.
right? That's
Very
it.
good.
It's like you can't describe this. It's not even an object. It's really
It's not. It's something different.
It's not a
It's
classic.
not
Yeah.
classical at
physics.
all.
It's not the way that we understand the world.
Right.
Regular people.
It's like, what's a
can't-
black hole? You
had-
you can't describe a black hole in terms of normal space and time and stuff. It's breaking our equations.
Yeah.
Literally for
Yeah.
So-
space-time.
Intuition fails.
Yeah, your brain did not evolve to understand quantum
Right.
mechanics
Right.
or
So
relativity.
you have to be brilliant and well
You have to-
educated and studied to even approach understanding any of this.
And even they don't understand it. They just know the math. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yep.
They argue like the
Shut up
Copen-
and calculate.
Yeah, shut up
Yep.
and calculate.
Yep.
Does the Copenhagen interpretation actually describe reality? They don't know.
Or the multiverse is that the
Yeah.
is that the way to think of it?
I will borrow this
no.
from chat. Steve, explain this to me in meatballs, please.
Explain this to me a meatball. All right, let's say you have
All
two meatballs, Jay.
All right.
One
I
is
got
pork,
you.
one is beef.
Yes.
Oh.
All right.
All right. I
They are not
start.
entangled.
I start eating the pork one.
Right.
I look at the beef one, and then I eat the beef one. They are reentangled. They collapse in my stomach.
Right.
Okay, I get it. I perfectly understand this shit.
Spooky.
All right.
They decohere
It-
to your ass.
It's fun. It's really fun to know that certain scientists know that these things exist. Right? We know they exist, and we know that there's things happening.
Yeah.
But from where I sit, it's a fucking crazy mystery. Like, we don't know.
We don't know.
Yeah, we know the out. We can
we know
observe the outcome of the experiment,
Yes.
but what's happening in the middle?
We can observe experiments and we
interpretations.
can do the math. But like what it actually means for reality, we don't know.
Yeah.
Can't say
Yeah.
with any certain. And there's
And the experts bitterly debate
yeah.
what it actually means. But the thing that's interesting is like with the same was true of relativity.
Right.
If you go back 120 or 30 years, right? Where they had observations and they worked out the math, but nobody knew what it meant. And then Einstein, though, his brilliance was like, okay, here's one interpretation of the observations and the math. Maybe time is relative and space is relative and the speed of light is the constant. That blew everyone's
Right.
mind. Didn't even occur to them.
in hindsight, it's like no matter how you measure the speed of light, it's going to be traveling at the speed of light. Even if you're traveling at 99.9% of the speed of light, if you shine a laser
Yeah.
beam and measure it, it's still going
But
to
that's counterintuitive.
it doesn't make any sense. But to me, in hindsight, in hindsight, of course, it
hindsight
sounds
does-
reasonable.
yeah.
Wait, if that's true, what would be the ramifications? Oh, wait, space and time actually
Are
change
variable.
in order to make that measurement happen. So it's
Space
like-
stretches and time slows down. Whatever it's got to do to make the speed of light constant.
Yes.
So it just didn't occur to anybody that was the solution, that's how the universe worked. And nobody believed it right away until he had to prove that he was correct.
Yeah.
So maybe there's a genius out there somewhere that will say, here is how the universe actually works that results in these equations and these observations. But I don't know that person exists
Well,
yet,
it might
or
not
that-
even be a person.
or that
It might be. It might be an
if
artificial
anyone has
intelligence.
spitted that out, I don't know that we know what it is or whatever. That there's no
Yeah.
consensus that this guy proved that he's correct.
I mean, we've talked to a lot of physicists, and I've sat through explanations and descriptions and interpretations and all this stuff, and it occurred to me at one point, not probably over 10 years ago.
Sank in at some point.
It occurred to me, really, is that they don't know.
They don't know.
They don't know.
They admit that.
They're all just trying. It's all like just ideas floating around in the air. And again, like you guys and everyone in the chat's going like, it's about the math. It's not
Yeah.
about the physical.
There is one thing
objects.
I know for sure, though.
What?
That guy's fucking wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude. I mean, and what made me really mad? I'm driving over here today, listening to it, and I'm getting so pissed off because he was a combination.
If I'm having
of,
road rage over quantum mechanics.
it's a combination of cocky and uninformed.
Yes.
Yeah.
I
What
don't-
does that
I don't
remind
wanna
you
say
of,
stupid.
Bob?
Huh?
What does that remind you of?
All of
So
TikTok?
this guy's like, most people can't wrap their heads around it. And I'm like, dude, you can't either. That was the worst explanation of
Yes.
entanglement I have ever seen. And then, of course, the
Followed
superliminal
by-
communication thing is
Yeah.
just, it's been shot down over and over and over. If you're going to say it's real, at least come up with a novel reason why
No, he
the
didn't.
conventional explanation
Bob,
is
he's
wrong.
got 2 patches on his clothing. He knows what he's talking about.
True.
Go ahead,
right.
Ian. Let's
You
move
get
on,
those
please.
patches from nothing. All right, let's do a couple
Fizzle
fun
sis.
things
Yeah,
first.
that's what
I just
Dylan
want to
said.
show
I remember
you.
that.
Just want to show you a picture and see what y'all think of this picture right here. Hold on.
Y'all.
Whoops.
Yeah.
At first blush, it looks like a necklace around a very thin neck, but I bet you it's not.
Oh,
that.
I know what it is. I saw that, and it's like,
Yeah, I
that
sent
guy's
this to
got a
Ian.
skinny, long, hairy neck, right?
Yeah, that's basically
That
Shaggy.
Adam's apple.
That's
I know it's-
Shaggy, right?
I know exactly what it is, but it's like
you figure it out
it
yet?
took me
Is
a
that
while.
a foot? It looks like a foot.
Keep
Could
going.
be.
No.
Keep going.
That looks like a malleolus, an ankle.
Oh, it does kind of look like the
All
ankle.
right.
Yeah.
Nope.
I think that's a foot.
Nope.
All right, wait.
What
Let's
else you
let's
got?
have fun. Steve doesn't know it yet.
Steve doesn't
Let's
know.
have fun.
It hasn't clicked in.
Let's have fun. All right, what's the thing? What is
Chat,
the-
does anybody
what is
not
that
know?
circular
Say not
thing,
know.
Steve?
It could be a bracelet in a hand. Is the other thing.
Right. That's it.
Yeah.
It's a pocket. Yeah, it's a pocket.
His hand
It's
is in a
pants
pocket.
His hand is in a
His
His
pocket.
right, yes.
The thing that
I
fucks you
know, I
up
see,
is the
yeah.
bump, the bone bump on his wrist
Looks like an Adam's apple.
looks like an Adam's apple, and that's what sells it subliminally. And I'm telling you, man, that's
and the
that's
shirt,
Shaggy.
that's a common,
Yeah, that's
a-
now
a
that
sh-
now that it clicks into place. Of course, it's a hand in a pocket.
Yeah.
but
that-
now
that
your
looks
brain
like-
is making
yeah,
it look more like a hand in the pocket.
Yeah, right. And that's a T-shirt.
that was a
And
tricky
tan
one. That
pants,
was a
yeah.
tricky one.
You know what
man.
someone hasn't done yet, Ian?
It's entangled.
They have to finish that picture. as if it's a neck.
Oh yeah.
I want to see what the guy looks like. I know, right?
That's the AI could do
And
that.
the pocket looks like a neckline. That's the other
Yes,
thing.
Totally.
that's those
It
two
does,
things.
yeah.
That's what the neckline.
But look at how big the stitches are if it was a neckline. Like the stitches
Yeah.
are kind of big. I mean,
Oh my
maybe.
God.
Oh
Could be
yeah,
like
make a
a-
sartorial argument.
Creek
I'm
Racer,
sorry,
you
I'm
always
sorry.
make me laugh, dude. Oh my God.
Okay.
Oh,
Sir.
He always gets
I
me.
mean, okay, good for you. All right, so let's look at some art for a second and see if you guys have a compulsion to do what these people are doing. So,
I
They're blowing on
never
something?
expected people to eat the sculpture. I just thought it would be nice for them to see it. But then people just started licking it. And I was like, what are you doing? You don't know who's licked there before? Like, what are you doing? Like, nobody was afraid of that. It was
Is it
weird.
made of chocolate
My
or
name's Joseph
something?
Marr, and I'm an artist working with sugar in Berlin. I just love the
Sugar.
look on people's faces when they understand it's sugar, because most people don't actually
Who would let
know.
their kid
And then
lick
when they
a
hear that it's sugar,
statue?
they go, what? And then they look at it again. And I think that makes them feel more part of it when they know what it's
I
about.
wouldn't lick
Working with
something like
sugar
that
is
if it were
a
in my
unique thing.
house.
It's incredibly difficult. Temperature and humidity affect it greatly.
Maybe
Once
the
it's
soldering
made,
iron.
it's
What
quite
is it?
solid and lives for a long time.
It's
The
just
oldest
sugar, it's not
sculptures I have
chocolate or
are
something.
it's just sugar,
Sugar.
that one. Yeah, it's like, colored sugar.
so it's
now
sweet.
14 years
Sure.
old, and they're doing well.
Forbidden sugar.
I like the challenge of making something that should be temporary permanent.
Should be. Well, it's
Well, it's not going to be
becoming
permanent if people keep
temporary.
licking it.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Anyway, thoughts on licking art?
yeah, I mean, I think everyone is taking this like too calmly. Like
They're kids, man.
kids and adults were in there sucking on this statue, and then the next people walk up and they start sucking on it. That's
Yeah.
completely fucking unhinged.
Yeah, that's how the zombie apocalypse
I
begins.
know.
Yeah.
Humans are just.
Well, I mean,
Ay, ay, ay.
what's the real risk here?
It's pretty high. You'd get germs.
Something.
Yeah, oh, you get a cold. You get you
Unless
get.
you-
I mean, they're
or
not
the
going to
flu.
die.
The
They're not
flu.
going to. They're not going to die.
You don't know that.
Yeah.
You can get the flu, and that has a mortality.
Bob, what if
rate,
they have the
so too.
heebie-jeebies? Then you're screwed. Or they have cheese touch. Then you're really
What if,
screwed.
yeah, what if they have the
I mean,
cooties?
it's,
Yeah.
That's a
I mean-
guaranteed way to get cooties.
Yeah, don't do that.
The
That's
risk
not.
is higher than not licking it, probably.
That's true.
I assume.
The sad fact is we didn't see it because this amazing artist picked an incredible medium with really good execution. It's that people were
They're dumb
licking
enough to lick a
sugar
public
statues in
statue.
public.
I know. It's just- I saw that and I was like, what the
There's only like 3 things in my house that I walk up to and lick, and it's not a freaking sugar statue.
Okay. We don't need any explanation. on
Somebody
that.
said oral herpes. There you
Oral
go, Bob.
herpes. There you
That's why you
go.
don't put your mouth on strange shit. Right
well, wait a
there.
second. What's the other term for oral herpes?
Cold sore.
Cold sore. I mean, it's not.
Well, what about herpes? What about like
Oral herpes is not what you're thinking
It's
of.
a different virus.
Different-
still,
it's
you don't want
different,
that.
man.
You don't want
It's
that.
a cold sore. But I'm just saying, basically worst case scenario.
Yeah,
Within
they're not
reason.
all dead, Bob. Yeah, I
Yeah,
get that.
but-
Everyone that we saw in that video didn't die within a
Exactly,
few days.
yes.
But that's not what. But you
I'm
still
not-
can get sick.
Of course, but the reaction, Jay's reaction, made me think of. Wait a second.
That's an evolved
We're-
disgust reaction meant to protect you from doing stupid
I
shit like
know,
licking
but-
public statues.
Bob, I'm
but-
disgusted. You're not disgusted.
Okay, let's take this angle.
Bob, do you have something to admit?
Let's take this angle.
Have you been to Berlin?
Would you lick that for how much? What would it take to get you to lick
Oh,
that?
if money's involved, then my
No,
disgust
it's
an
goes
ROI,
right out the
Bob.
window.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well,
My
no,
health.
this puts a finer point on how dangerous is it really.
Okay.
If you said I wouldn't do it for $1 million, come on.
well,
I would do it for $1 million.
yeah.
Fuck yeah. I'd do it for $1,000. Easy. Easy.
One lick or
$1,000,
a heavy
Add-
suck?
Add another zero
lick.
on that, maybe.
Take 10,000. You wouldn't do it for $5,000.
Well, can I brush my teeth immediately afterwards and disinfect?
That does
No.
doesn't help anyway.
Why?
It's not.
already
It's
in
a
you.
virus. None of that's going to do anything.
Yeah,
help
it's
you.
already
Too late.
inside you.
Well, okay, I'm not doing it. How about that?
Just not going to do that.
Not gonna do it. Wouldn't be pertinent.
I'm not going to do it either, but it's not as egregious as it seemed like we were
It is
portraying it.
objectively
Somebody says
disgusting.
clearly
Yeah.
you've never been to Singapore. I need to know why. I
know
need
what
to
that
know
means.
why.
Whoa.
What is this?
What are the deets
What
on
am I
that?
missing?
Infidel, fill us in.
Well, I mean,
It's got to be horrible.
It's got to be something weird.
I suppose-
Welcome to the glory hole part of the show. Oh my god,
Jesus.
I love the chat today. Oh my god, guys.
Chat, you gotta.
Yeah.
Wow.
All right.
Calm down. All right,
I mean, there's an elephant in the room here, and I don't know if I'm going to offend a lot of people if I say it.
No, then don't
that's
say
a
it.
good indication not
You
to say
shouldn't
something.
say it.
Okay.
Yeah, that's also a
Okay.
What were you gonna
evolved
say,
thing to not say. I'll mute the mic. No, stop. Don't say it. Hold on. Muting the mics. Muting the just in case.
Right? Right, Bob?
Don't say. Okay.
All right.
Anyway,
I'll tell you later.
moving on. Let's talk about liver failure. I
Okay.
guess. So Steve wrote an article on sciencebased which you should all check out and subscribe to, and maybe become a patron, please. But so liver failure from alt medicine. You want to
Yeah.
talk about alt med is not just this like what people think is herbs and water and
Well, this was specifically looking at herbal treatments, and they fought. This is from India, this study, but it's so this is a global market. 20% of herbal products made in India are exported to the U.S.
Yes.
20%. Well,
Yeah, 20%. So anyway, basically what they tracked like 100 patients and who like on average used 3 point whatever different remedies. So it was like 391 different remedies that they tried and that were presented to a clinic for side effects. It was almost 40% of them had liver injury. And then they just tried to say like what predicted like how bad the liver injury was. The biggest correlating factor was that the remedy had undisclosed ingredients, which makes sense. But what they found was that rampant in the products were heavy metal contamination, substitution, and
sugar from a statue that people
sugar
licked.
and licking a public statue, and
Pre-licked sugar.
adulteration. You know what the difference is between contamination and adulteration?
accidental.
Yes, contamination's accidental, adulteration's deliberate.
Yeah. Okay.
So like deliberately putting a real drug in there, you know what I mean? Like herbal boner pills all have Viagra in them or whatever,
Yeah.
have real, boner medication.
Oh,
in
I
them.
didn't know that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, but how much, right? I mean, who knows what dose you're getting?
Right,
But
exactly.
yeah.
So and that correlated not only with liver damage but with dying from liver failure. It breaks the whole idea that that these things are natural and therefore they're magically safe, that they're not drugs. They are drugs. They're just really terrible drugs, poorly regulated. The industry is vastly unregulated, mainly because the supplement industry invests millions of dollars in lobbying our government to stave off any effective regulation, and it's worked. So, and somebody said at least true homeopathic remedies just hydrate you.
If even.
The true, I think, is doing a lot of heavy lifting in that statement. So sometimes homeopathic remedies are adulterated as well, or they have measurable doses of stuff in them. So
Yeah, or they could also put it in a sugar pill, so there would be something else there. It's not just liquid.
yeah,
Yeah.
usually most of them are sugar pills that
Yeah.
a drop has been put on, so they actually don't hydrate you. But yeah, it's statistically safer to take a homeopathic remedy than an unregulated herbal
Yeah. Right.
drug.
Okay.
I think out of all of them, though, dry needling is probably the safest.
Well, it depends.
They're just poking you at that point.
Well, but there's people
goes
get
in the skin,
hematomas.
though.
People have collapsed lungs from that.
From dry needling?
Yeah.
How?
You poke a lung and you get it.
No, but I'm talking about the one where they're not even breaking the skin. They're just poking you.
Oh, they
shadow
break the skin with
acupuncture?
dry needling.
Oh, okay.
Isn't that just acupuncture?
It's just
gloves?
acupuncture with gloves, but
Yeah,
it's just without claiming chi or anything. But yeah, there's it's obviously statistically it's low, but again there's no benefit and you get it a lot.
So
there's lots of side effects.
Somebody stuck a needle into someone deep enough to puncture their lung.
It's easier than you think.
Why? Because they're so fine?
Well, it's also not. You don't have to go that deep. If I go right here, I can get to your lung. Your lung pokes up right here. I can
Wait,
get to it.
where?
Oh, okay.
Right above the collarbone.
Because that's where you see in
What?
video games, they stab people right
Holy
in there.
shit. Yeah. What the
Yeah,
hell? Didn't
that
know
would collapse your lung.
I would think you'd be going this way, but you don't have to.
You could do it too. You could do it through the ribs as well.
Yeah.
So I've never personally done it. That's what. Once I retired, I'm like I could say I've never done all the. I've never been
Yeah, right.
sued for malpractice. I've never collapsed a lung from sticking a needle in somebody. But one of my colleagues at Yale did. In fact, he collapsed both lungs.
Oh,
What
luckily they had a
what
third
happens
one.
to you?
He had to get rushed to the emergency room.
But you can't breathe.
Yeah, you can't breathe. That's right.
And they saved that person.
Yeah, you just got to put a chest tube in, drain the air, and you're fine. Close
So
it up.
you drain the air out of the lung that they want air
From
in.
the outside.
Okay.
As
Just
air leaks
checking.
out and then around the lung, so the lung can't inflate. So you got to drain the air outside the lung.
Right.
You get that. That's a
That's a
pneumothorax.
collapsed lung.
Yeah. So
That
they
makes
They did that
sense.
within 3.5 minutes.
no. I mean, it's not like you can't breathe at all. It's just it gets progressively more difficult to breathe.
That makes sense because
You never understood it before.
It never made sense to me because a lung isn't a balloon that collapses when if you pop it. It's like all the alveoli.
It's the air outside the lung.
that's
inside.
compressing it. That's compressing it,
yeah.
preventing it from expanding.
Right.
Jesus. All right.
So that's a pneumothorax. You could also have a hemothorax where blood is doing the same thing. You got to drain the blood. Either way, you got to put it in the chest tube,
Yeah,
drain
man.
the stuff, and
Wow.
allow the lung to reinflate. It happens. It can happen to even somebody who knows what they're doing because it's actually very easy to go a little bit too far and you
Yeah.
could do it.
And your
What was the
and
needle that they were
variation, of
putting
course,
in?
is big.
It was an EMG needle, so it's not hollow. It's a thin. It's like an acupuncture needle. It's solid, thin needle, but the tip is not insulated, and that's just recording electrical activity of the muscle.
Oh my God, I feel bad for those people, man.
Wouldn't stand up in court. That was a good one.
All right, so you didn't kill anybody.
I
Okay,
never
go
killed
ahead.
any.
Yeah.
Well, I've had patients who have died.
Yeah, but you didn't.
I was never the proximate cause of their death.
Proximate.
As far as I know, I've never killed anybody. I did have. So the only thing, the closest I ever came, I would say, is one of my patients OD'd on drugs that I was prescribing them. But I was in the process of weaning them off addictive medication, right? So
Yeah.
I inherited them on high doses of multiple addictive medications.
Jesus.
And so I'm like, all right, we can do one of two things. We admit you to detox and we get you off of everything. She had no insurance, right? It just wasn't going to happen. And she didn't want to do it. So, okay, so we're going to just slowly wean you down. And this is for like over a year, I got her down to like a third of what she was on when I got her. I was getting pretty close to getting her off. But she was mentally ill.
Yeah.
She was hoarding medication and then she just took all of it at one time.
To kill herself?
Yeah.
Okay.
It was clearly a suicide.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Oh boy, that sucks.
That sucks. That's the only thing I could think of where like I was involved in
Yeah.
an unusual death. Anyway, never collapsed the lung.
Next.
All right, moving on.
Moving on. I don't know how we got there. Oh, yeah.
Let's go to the
Acupuncture's not
main
always
thing.
benign.
Cursive Conspiracy.
Oh, yeah,
All
here we
so
go.
This is the name of
All right.
the episode. Right?
This fucking guy.
fucking guy. This is always like the setup video, but here we go.
What's a conspiracy theory that absolutely blows
We're not
your
seeing the
mind?
video.
That they stop
there.
teaching kids cursive so they can no longer read the Declaration of Independence and know their rights. Scary thing is, it's accurate.
What?
All right. So there's that.
Well, that's ridiculous because
It's
first
just
of all, you
ridiculous.
could get the. I mean, look, it's weird to me that they stopped teaching kids cursive. I don't like that we live in a world where people aren't learning to write that way. But you can get the Declaration
Is
of
that
Independence.
universal?
I don't know.
I don't
like
know.
Across the
Yeah, I
world?
don't know.
You can get the Declaration of Independence, typed out like with
I
regular.
mean, yes, there are. I mean,
Just
it's not
Google
as
it.
if your only access to what's written in the Declaration. But first of all, our rights don't come from the Declaration of Independence. They come from the Constitution.
Yeah.
Right? And it's not like without being able to read the original document in cursive, you have no access to the text of the Constitution. So it makes absolutely
Wait, so you're saying it's
no
on
sense.
the internet, not in cursive?
Of course.
Wow.
And
It's an aerial.
again, he pulls the they. Who is this they? How did they control all of education in America to remove the teaching of cursive from it?
Bullshit.
And did they really think that they were going to accomplish, like, people suddenly no longer know their constitutional rights because we don't teach them cursive in school anymore?
Is cursive
It's
unreadable?
just dumb on so many levels.
Yeah, that's a lot
Can-
of level of dumb.
Can someone who hasn't been taught to write in cursive,
You can still read it.
right? I think you could read
Yeah,
it.
it's
There's no
Yeah.
typeface.
even
or
the whole
font.
premise.
It's even a typeface. Yeah.
I mean, so I looked it up very quickly. It says France, Germany, Italy, along with Russia, India, and Indonesia maintain cursive or joined up writing. So there are some.
Now they're calling it joined up
Well,
writing.
that's just what it is.
It's just a description of it.
Description of what it is. Like,
does no public school in the U.S. teach cursive?
it just says instruction has declined in the U.S.
It's declined. Yeah, I
But
didn't think it
that
would be
doesn't mean
totally gone.
None. Some U.S. states have remandated it, but I don't know which ones. It doesn't say.
Ones that care about the Constitution.
Yeah.
I mean, it's one of those things. I don't really even know how I feel about it. I just think it's weird, because it was such a big.
Because we learned it.
Yeah, it just seems like a skill that people should have, but then maybe that's not
Like, how
true.
much writing on paper do you even do anymore? I don't.
What
do
is
that
paper?
ever. What? Thank you. Very good.
How do you sign your name if you don't learn cursive?
That's a good point.
You sign
in
it.
print.
Holy crap.
In print. Do you even sign your name like legibly? I just make a squiggle at this point.
I
But,
sign my
give it
name
a little-
legibly.
No, I make it like nonsensical.
Well, not it's not like easy to read, Steve.
I didn't say it was easy to read.
It's a signature. It has a.
It's a signature, but I'm writing actual letters. I'm not just doing a squiggle.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
I kind of do my first name and then.
Mom,
around at the end.
when our mom has to sign her name, like she's got like for certain meds and stuff, she's signing a digital pad or even just a paper. She still does it really slow.
Oh, she has fantastic
and
penmanship.
it's still it's not as good as it used to be, but it's still better than mine. Her penmanship. But just yesterday or today, she was signing for some meds, and I'm like, Ma, just do your squiggle, because she spends time, and this was digital, and I'm like, it doesn't matter how neat you are, just do it. And of course, she still did.
Yeah.
Very slow writing her name. It's like,
Yeah, when I sign anything, like whenever I have to sign one of those digital things, like I don't give them the real thing. I just kind of go, bep, 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 you know what I mean? And just put some marks in there.
Somebody brought up the point. It's like, what is the point of cursive? It was just like, to be faster at writing?
Yes.
yeah.
So then, like, typing is significantly faster now,
Mm-hmm.
right? So, like, is there even a benefit to cursive in the real world?
Well, now I just think it's having the ability to sign your name.
Yeah, that's like the only time. But then, who writes checks anymore? It's
Yeah,
like
right?
very infrequent that I have.
So
Yeah,
less important.
I
than it-
just
than it
gave
used
someone
to
a
be.
check 2 days ago, and I was like, why am I doing this?
Yeah.
It's weird.
It's like, good luck. Those guys.
All right, so moving
Is that
on
an F?
to
Is that like a fancy F?
yeah.
Those guys. All right, so what else do we got?
You guys getting hungry?
Oh, okay. Should we just move right on to that? I had another thing that I.
Well,
no,
yeah,
that's fine.
there was more in the list you sent me.
Yeah, there are actually. I just didn't yank them out. Let me pull out some of those other ones. that are
Cursive
weird.
makes writing with a quill.
We're gonna do. Let's see. I mean, we could do the Lyme, even though I spelled it wrong. Disease. One, if you want to do.
Go ahead.
We did that one on the show.
Yeah.
Oh,
Okay.
right, okay. Listen to the show. That one's good.
Yeah.
Where'd you get the shirt? See the shirt, Jay?
I like it.
I got it at the California Museum of Science.
Mm-hmm.
The littlest monkey on there looks like he's having the most fun.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
looks like a barrel of monkeys.
Yeah.
Halves. The map is a lie. I mean, that lady's so crazy. I don't even. I want.
We could do that one. It's just a stupid fluffer.
Or Earth breathes.
It's the tides again.
I know. It's just so many of these are. Are they Poe or are they?
I know, because it's so stupid. Isn't that
It's
guy
hard to-
literally wearing a tin hat?
He is wearing. a Poe hat.
I mean,
If that's yeah,
It's
I mean,
like,
we'll just
wh-
show him for a second.
how
It's
do,
just
how
like,
if
how
the
could
moon's
you-
causing the tides, how come it's the same when
bad.
there's no moon and there's a crescent moon and there's a full moon?
Mhm.
Wow.
That,
Holy shit.
yeah, that was
Like,
pretty
do you
bad.
think when there's like
Like, look at this guy.
a first quarter moon that only half the moon is there, the other half is not there?
Earth
I don't
breathing
think
and
he was
has a
really.
pulse.
I thought the same thing, but I think he didn't mean to say that the phases of the moon should impact the tides, because he goes right back to gravity. The gravity causes the tides.
Yeah.
But why are there areas on the Earth without tides? Like, dude, it's geography. It just depends on so many factors about where the water
There's
is.
always tides. They're just different amounts.
Right.
All right, maybe we could do the tree one. This one is just like.
It's just like no
extra
words, right?
Extra strange. Yeah, it's just.
So
there's
first
this
off, is that
weird
a
concept.
tree or is that like an appendage from a giant monster?
It could be. Could be Resident Evil.
I don't know what that
Requiem.
is.
Special tree.
I think it's supposed to be a
That's
like
the
a
thing
burnt up
That's the
tree.
thing that comes out of the water in Dungeons of Eternity.
So that's a fake picture.
Right. That earlier, this one. It's just
That
like
one.
yeah.
I think they just superimposed picture of
The Washington Monument.
the Washington Monument and whatever that thing is, a branchless tree or whatever.
So you telling me that these people are saying that they built the Washington Monument with a tree inside of it?
I don't know what he's saying. I watched the whole thing like 3 times.
There's no word, right? There's no words.
It's just
text.
Yeah, but at the end of it, I don't even know what the claim is. Is there something weird with the Washington Monument? You know?
Yeah, it's all this kind of conspiracy.
And then there's lightning hitting the Washington Monument. Okay.
What are the odds?
I mean, it's pretty big.
I'm not liking this.
Cool. Who knows? It's annoying.
Yeah.
It does look like a follicle. You're right. All right, that one's dumb. All right, let's do Lyme disease since we're in Connecticut. Wait, not that. Close that. And that counts for something, I think. There we go. I'm a conspiracy theorist with these things, he says.
So anyway, we talked about this on the show.
Yeah.
This guy's talking about the book Bitten, which is just resurrecting the conspiracy theory about the notion that Lyme disease was bioengineered in a U.S. bioweapons laboratory on Plum Island, and then released into the public.
Right.
But we know this is not true because Lyme is actually an ancient bacteria. It's been in North America for thousands of years. It's not any different than the one that's been circulating around for thousands of years.
Did they find it in mummies or something like that?
They
found really good evidence that it was like thousands of years old, not just centuries.
I mean, we definitely have it from museum specimens from hundreds of years old, but it's still long enough to put it way before anything that could possibly be bioengineered.
So what animal eats ticks? I forget. I remember I looked it up once. There is an animal that...
Birds?
Really?
Yeah, probably birds.
Yeah, no, it was a ground animal.
A tick eater?
I don't know what it is. Yeah, like an anteater.
A opossum?
Is it opossums?
It says opossums, chickens, guinea fowls, turkeys, frogs, and spiders.
All right.
Okay.
Opossums are especially effective.
The ticks are just the vector. It's the bacteria that the ticks carry.
Right.
Because they eat the blood of like a deer.
They drink the blood.
Yeah, they drink the blood. Yeah, that's exactly
And
where it's from.
then they bite you and they transmit the virus. The bacteria.
All right, enough of this loser, dude.
So yeah, it's just resurrecting all of that, and then they're like, oh, there's these released papers. They were just dumpster diving in these, released documents. There's no smoking gun in there. There's nothing. They're just trying to make it sound sinister.
Yeah.
But we do a deep dive on the show from
so
last
listen to
week
the
if you
show.
want to get more details.
More importantly, why is the word opossum pronounced 2 different ways?
I think they're two different animals.
All right, so
there's possums and opossums.
All right, so tell me the difference.
Opossums.
One is in Australia or something like that. Aren't possums in Australia? Possums.
I forget, but there's a geographical.
Opossum is the largest order of marsupials in the Western Hemisphere.
Marsupial family. Okay.
Possums versus I'll look it up. Let's just look it up.
So do these two ever fight with each other?
Well, unless they're traveling long distances, I doubt it.
But we use the words interchangeably, No,
I think we just pronounce it wrong. This is the possum.
Yes.
Common bushtail possum in Australia, and then this is the Virginia opossum.
Yeah, they look identical to me.
What? Sharper. I don't know. I mean, I don't think they do. Look, here's a comparison. Possum, little.
Oh, whoa.
Opossum, big.
Yeah, we have opossums.
We have opossum.
So these are the ones that hang from trees.
On several occasions, I've encountered an opossum in my yard that looks
Opossums
dead.
are Irish.
Yeah.
One time it was faking.
Yeah.
And I saw it get up and run away.
Yeah.
The other 2 times it was actually dead.
Unless it was really good at faking.
No, it was dead.
Okay.
It was doing method acting.
Which reminds me of one of the funniest Halloween videos I saw last year. It showed an opossum on a porch, and there's a witch standing there, and he got within a certain distance. The witch started moving, and he just played dead. Yeah. It was hilarious. It was so
I think
funny.
that was AI.
What?
I think that video. I think I know what video you're talking about, and it's like it passes out and plays dead.
Yeah.
I think that video was AI.
Well, can you confirm that?
Oh, somebody in the chat
Yeah,
saw
man.
Kara out in the wild, and they recognized her by her voice.
Yeah.
That's funny.
He sent her an email.
That's so funny. Yeah, so that's the whole
still a funny
possum,
video.
opossum
Okay, so I'm
debate.
gonna
It is funny.
I'm gonna remember to call the
Somebody
the
look it up.
larger animals that we have here in this part of the country.
Opossum.
They're
Opossum.
spelled opossum. You could still say possum.
Okay.
You say opossum.
Opossum.
Opossum. Opossum.
Okay, that's fun.
okay.
Are they related? These
Okay.
creatures are related, though, right?
I don't think they are. Are they
Now-
related?
They have to be.
Well,
They
all
don't
life
have
on
to
Earth
be.
is related, so they.
Yeah, I mean that's good.
the question is how closely related.
I have officially.
Only distantly related.
Only
Okay, they're
distantly related.
distant.
They're
okay.
both
Yeah, they're
mammals.
not- they're- yeah, sure.
They're
I've
marsupials.
officially crossed the line where the word possum now looks really bizarre to me.
Oh, I
It's just
know.
like,
That's funny.
what? Is that even a word
I'm
now?
getting some confirmation that it's AI slop. I'm pretty sure it was. I thought it was funny too, but then I looked at it.
What
and
was
like,
AI slop?
the
possum
thing?
playing
The
dead
po-
by the
playing
witch.
dead for
Would
the
you
witch
call that
thing.
slop? I mean, if
I
it was
mean, you know.
realistic enough and funny, is that still slop?
I think still technically it's slop. It's just it's a sloppy Joe. You like sloppy Joes or not?
Yeah, I like them.
You like a sloppy
Both
Joe?
possum and opossum are both fish.
They're Irish. I know.
Irish.
Irish. Speaking of Irish, all right, let's get to the Irish segment of the day.
Oh, I
which is
know what he
something
made us.
safe. I don't
Aha.
know what I made.
I do
Whoa.
know.
I don't know. So we
Soda
this
bread?
is the special day, and what is it?
The day after.
Will it bread? Is that working?
Well, let bread. Well,
we
let
go.
bread. Finally.
Been a
Awesome
while.
meatballs.
Will it bread segment.
Very
Steve,
excitable.
Steve, did I bring the Easter bread here?
So excited.
I think so. Yeah.
I won't do it.
Speaking of bread, I didn't tell you guys about my baking class.
Yeah.
I'll talk about it on the show too, but I took a baking class at King Arthur at their baking school.
Yeah.
And careful with that knife with this desk, Steve.
Whoa, this looks good, man. You made this, Ian.
I
Is that
sure
what you're
did.
Wait,
saying?
wait, before you cut
Right,
it,
bro.
before you cut it.
So
You
I
rock.
did
Yeah, show the-
hopefully I didn't make it too dry or anything.
Very
But we'll
nice,
see.
Ian.
I
Very
did a
nice.
test one. It was pretty good, but I took it out earlier. So it has raisins in it and caraway seeds. So I don't know if that
Whoa.
will
Okay.
influence people's. So it is Irish soda bread. It's not brown bread.
Irish.
Stay away from
It's
your
just soda bread.
microphone when you're chomping.
I did make it with buttermilk, so it's a little more
Ah.
soft.
I like what I'm
think.
seeing.
I
Hey,
think.
Bob.
So we'll see if
Yeah,
it's any
baby.
good. We'll see if it has any flavor. If it's not too dry.
Very good. I really like it.
It is a dry bread
Not
in
too dry.
general,
Yeah.
but yeah, I thought the way I tested a smaller one, and it was
Oh, man.
less dry than I usually make it.
It would be very good with coffee or tea.
Oh my God! Yeah, this
you
is
definitely
screaming out
have
for
to have
coffee.
a tea. I'm sorry I didn't make it.
It's got a great finish, man.
All right, good. Thanks. Good.
It's really good, Ian.
So yeah, soda bread always a classic. It was the most important Irish day yesterday.
So what do you got for ingredients?
So I mean, it was baking soda, hence the soda name, baking powder, buttermilk, egg, salt, flour, butter, melted butter.
No sugar?
Oh yeah, and sugar. It actually does like a cup of sugar, so it is a little more.
So no
sugary.
yeast, all baking soda.
No yeast, all baking soda. Yeah, it is just that. That's the leavening.
Peanut butter would be nice
agent.
on this too.
Oh yeah, a little peanut butter, a little tea. We'll have more when we reunify Ireland. We'll put it together. Whatever. It has raisins. If it has raisins, it's not soda bread. All right, look, it's a little bit of a. Technically, it's not. You're supposed to just put caraway seeds, right?
Oh,
Technically not, but like everybody does put raisins.
Rob
in it.
Palmer.
Whatever.
What happened, Bob?
We're gonna do an video interview with him, from Skeptical Acquire. So let's set that up.
All
All
right,
right.
we gotta do that. That's cool.
When would be a good time? We'll
what is
talk about it.
this
We'll talk
here?
about it. All right,
Okay, we'll
Bob.
talk
We'll let you
about
know. We promise. We'll let you know ASAP
We
about that
mean
interview.
it. We mean it.
Very
this
good job,
time.
Ian. I
All
like it
right,
a lot.
Thank you very much. Hold on, I gotta download a thing real quick. There we go. It's close enough. I'm gonna put the raisins on the thing, and it'll be fine. Oops, save image. All right, so let us put it in the handy dandy list that we came up with last time,
Oh.
which we haven't looked at in a while. Where is that? There it is. This guy was stupid. I found this one. It's just this random weirdo who's like reacting to this, but his mic isn't even plugged in. Doesn't say anything. It's very fun. Anyway, I was going to show it. But all right, let's go back to the list. We have the list. And we don't have soda bread on the list. So where do you guys think we rank it? Click here to add images. Whoops, I forgot to add an image. Add additional images. All right, stand by. Hold on. Yeah, what? Choose additional things. I got to add the image.
Now keep in mind,
There we go.
we're not rating it on comparing it to other soda bread. We're rating it for in bread, the
In
bread
bread.
category.
Assuming, this is our damnedest attempt, at any of these breads that we've done thus far.
I give it a B.
A B for bread. That was, if you remember, there's the Japanese milk bread we had. We had the pau de queijo. We had the whatever this thing was, the Polish thing. There was the semolina. I don't remember. The semolina bread was whack.
Whack.
The scones were really good, if you recall.
Yeah.
We had also, I think, your bread, right?
Yeah.
Your bread was here.
Woohoo.
The I forget what it's called.
Yeah, I would say either A or B.
Paloma?
In there.
Bob, what do you think?
I say B.
B.
I'll say this was probably the best soda bread with raisins that I've ever had.
Oh.
So,
What are we doing?
But
I
we're not,
thoroughly-
Bob, we're not judging it on soda bread quality. It's overall bread.
Yeah, it's just like
yes.
compared to these other breads.
I understand that. I just wanted to make you feel good, Ian, because
All right,
it
I
really
appreciate
was
it.
the best soda bread I've ever had.
Thank you
so,
very much.
Don't do that, because what happens is his ego inflates and he starts yelling at us.
yeah,
Oh,
but
wait,
he-
guys,
but
somebody
he also
asked-
might make us more bread.
With Project Hail Mary set to premiere this week, is it time to get AQ6 going?
I know.
So
It's happening.
AQ6 is going.
It's
We've
going.
recorded, a dozen episodes in the
Yeah.
last few months.
Mm-hmm.
We just recorded an episode yesterday. We reviewed Predator Badlands. We have tickets to see Project Hail Mary on Friday, and then we're going to do a review next Wednesday before the live stream.
Yeah. So
we're doing it. It's happening.
It's happening. Bob, you're the final vote. Is
What
it
did
A
you
or
guys
B?
do?
They did A and
I
B.
think it's a B. It's a good bread, but
Steve said A or B, so you get to decide. Is it A or B?
It's B and a half.
Like-
But A is the
and a
the
half.
best
No,
bread
there's
we
an
ever had.
S.
S
No,
is the best.
S is the best.
So that was Jay's bread, and then also my brown bread. If you remember, I made that like Irish.
I love that
Guinness
bread.
Yeah, that was.
Oh, I'd
pretty
put it up with A then.
good. All right. Thank you
All right,
very much.
I'm
Very
okay.
good.
I loved it.
That
I'm
is
gonna
good.
have more after we leave.
All right. Well,
I
now,
loved it.
Jay, talk about your bread experience. You didn't
Yeah.
go fully with it. You sent me a video also, like showcasing how good you are at making baguettes.
well, it was more of a
There's a
ha
flex.
ha. Or, yeah.
He's like, they're eating baguettes in my face.
Yeah, it was a yeah. My wife and I sent a video to Ian of us not talking, just chewing on bread.
Chowing down.
Yeah. So I have been quick background. I've been baking bread for over 4 years. I took a baguette class at King Arthur Bake School in Vermont.
Vermont.
Yeah. And it was awesome. I mean, the whole experience was fantastic. Their school is great. Like, you have a workstation. They have everything you need in there. They have the overhead TV and all that stuff. Very cool. It turns out that it wasn't hard for me to understand the recipe at all and to do it well the first time. But I've been baking a lot of bread, and I've been studying bread making since the beginning. So I wasn't surprised that I wasn't in there going, "What's happening?" Nothing was surprising to me. I could do it. The big difference between making a boule and making a baguette, there's lots of differences, but the really big one is essentially the folding technique to shape it correctly into like that submarine shape. And then you need a lot more equipment to do it, because you have to like have a couche, which is the cloth that you put one down and then you make a wall, and then you put another one down, another one, because you don't make one baguette. You're going to make a handful of them at the very least. Then you need the tool that you use to take it in and out of the oven, and then you need a piece of wood to transfer it. So there's other things going on there. It's more complicated. Bottom line, though, is I had an incredible time. Steve and I are going to take a bake class together, because you got it for me.
Yeah.
That was for my birthday, right?
Yeah. So, but also, like, I went to Jay's house, and he was going to show me how to make baguettes. He's like, "It's too complicated for you. I'm going to start you off with just baking.
I didn't want to start him off
hear you.
on something that's too much, you know.
So, but we did bake bread, and it came out good.
Yeah, so I taught him my standard recipe. Steve did a great job. Like he's like as far as students go, Steve only needs to see something once. He's paying attention. He's really thinking about it. I wasn't surprised, and we had a good time. And I'm just this idea of taking bake classes with friends though. To me, I can't wait. My sister-in-law who lives in Colorado. She and I are talking about taking a bake class.
Because you can keep expanding your repertoire.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of different kinds of bread out there.
Absolutely. I mean, the most expensive thing about the whole thing was having to get a hotel because I live far enough away where I can't just drive to the place and do it because the classes aren't crazy expensive. But if you don't know bread making and you have a good bread class around you and you want to learn, like that's a good place to start. You take like a bread 101 or something to learn all the basics. It's an incredible hobby. I highly recommend it. Feeding people is so much fun. I really love it.
Nothing better than fresh baked bread.
Oh yeah, I know.
Liz and I are taking a cooking class. We're going to learn gumbo, how to make gumbo, and bananas Foster.
Okay.
It's gonna be good.
That's great.
Got to make
good.
that roux, that flour roux.
So
gumbo.
Did your teacher know his shit or her shit?
Yeah, she's a woman. Yeah, she did absolutely. Most of the people in the class were like in the beginner zone.
Yeah.
But I'm like, I have a catalog of refinement questions in my head of things I just want to know and
So I assume
improving my technique.
Asked some questions.
I was being kind because I could have easily dominated the questions that were happening in that class. I wouldn't have run out of questions.
Right. Were you the teacher's pet?
No, no. I mean, I think she knew that I knew what I was doing.
So what did you ask? But you did ask a couple.
I mean,
right?
I asked her. I can't remember what the question was, but there was one question I asked her where she was like, she said, "Oh, I don't think anyone else is really going to get this. So let me just give you a quick answer." Like she didn't want to go into like a deep discussion about it. But like there's a concept. The dough temperature is a big deal. Most people don't even realize that this is a thing. But like if you're a bakery, you have to be acutely aware of each recipe's dough temperature, right? And the dough temperature.
At what point?
Well, there's a sweet spot of if you're using wild yeast or even the store-bought typical yeast that you get in the store, that the yeast performs best in like a 75, say, to 80 degree temperature window, right?
Because the rate at which it reproduces is temperature dependent.
Yeah, its metabolism is 100%.
When it's proving that's the time.
The moment you add water to the yeast and it's on
and the flour,
the temperature of the yeast is affected. It affects its metabolism directly.
All right, so that's the point.
If you put a starter in the refrigerator, the yeast slow down and they don't eat as fast and they don't excrete what they excrete as fast, right? And then when you put the dough in the oven and you put it in a 500 degree oven temporarily, the yeast go berserk. And that's where the oven rise. That's where the spring of the dough happens in the oven because they're eating more and more and more, and they're releasing more gas very quickly. And all of that happens. Die. Yeah, then they literally eat, die.
So you're killing them.
Yeah,
it's a graveyard. It's a delicious graveyard.
Bread is a graveyard of yeast.
So
love it.
Is it vegan?
So she introduced the class to this concept of dough temperature. And it's affected by all of your ingredients, right? So if your starter is room temperature, let's say your house is 70 degrees, but you keep your flour in a dark pantry that might not be near the heating and air conditioning thing. It could be a different temperature, right? And they typically are. So water, when you add water to a recipe like this, that's really how you have control over what the end temperature of the dough is going to be. Right, and you want to set it up. You want to set the dough up so at least you're starting it off in the right temperature zone.
Right.
And it's a little complicated because it's a mathematical equation that you have to do, and professional bakers know it, and they'll do it. If any of their parameters change, they will probably quickly run through it and figure out, I got to make an adjustment to my water temperature because the room is actually 5 degrees colder because it's winter or whatever the circumstance may be. So there's more complicated things like that I like to talk about. But, I have technique problems that I'm trying to solve. I always want to learn more about yeast behavior and things like that. Just, getting a real understanding of how it functions helps me make decisions. Even a simple thing like, how do you know when the dough is done proofing? Because it's like a bell curve. It's underproofed, it's underproofed, it's proofed correctly, it's proofed correctly. Now it slips into overproofed, right?
Yeah.
And you want to get it in that top bend of that bell
Sure.
curve. That's when you want to put it into the oven because it'll perform the best. The yeast will behave the best and give you the best product at the end. And it's not an easy thing to read, and it takes skill and it takes practice and all that shit. But it's great.
Cool, man.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think that's it. I don't have anything else.
Any
that we need
questions?
to- Yeah. Do we have any questions about bread or other? Somebody was talking about the events, and we did update the website with some of the events, not all of the events, if you want to check it out.
What were the questions, Ian?
No, I'm just asking.
When
I was asking chat if they have any questions. Or I guess the only question was like if there are events in LA. Yes, there is the super secret event happening.
So
yeah,
this is
that's
what
the
we're doing in
17th.
LA. So we'll be getting in Friday, right? So Friday night we're going to be doing like an intimate get together.
Right.
And then Saturday, for various reasons, we couldn't find venues for both a private show and an extravaganza.
Correct.
So what we're going to do is one long private show plus. It's going to be an extended private show plus, like 4 hours total. We're thinking of doing like a 2-hour recording, take an hour break for lunch, and then do a 2-hour, show that is going to be extra stuff. So it's not going to be an extravaganza. We can't brand it that way, but there'll be similar kind of stuff happening.
Yeah, we called it SU Live and Beyond.
And
at least
Beyond.
for
And
now.
Beyond.
And Beyond. So it's like it's the podcast private show if you've been
Yeah,
to
so
one.
we'll nail down the
Plus.
details on that soon and get the links up for that very quickly. Then this is happening in July. Then we're going to Sydney, Australia. Then we're going to Christchurch. So there'll be, and those tickets are all online, the Sydney, Australia, and Christchurch events. Before that, May we have Madison, Wisconsin, and June we have SciCon.
That's right, in Buffalo, New York.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to SciCon. I think
Yeah,
I think it's
fun.
going to be a
That'll be
really
fun.
good time.
That should be a really good
It's
one.
if it weren't for conferences, I wouldn't. There's vast majority of the people that we've come to know in the
Yeah.
community. Like I wouldn't see them. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like think about your day-to-day life. You're not. I'm friends with people in Australia. I'm friends with people in England. I have friends all over the world. So it's important to go. I like to go to a good conference every year.
All right. I mean, I think that was all the topics that I had. If there's anything else you guys want to talk about, or if there's anything on the, let's see, next week we'll used to have another live stream. PR podcast. Another episode is coming out today.
Which one's dropping today? We're doing
We're doing gerrymandering.
gerrymandering.
This is the one that it is behind.
Jerry
the
is
paywall,
an
so you get a
asshole.
little-
I hate
he
that
is.
guy.
I don't know. It's just
Mandering is annoying.
We didn't talk
There
about
wa-
any politics.
The funny thing is, there is a
good.
Jerry.
Jesus, that's
There
weird.
was a Jerry.
I know.
Yes.
That's true. So we're not even lying. So that one is behind the paywall on Patreon, but you'll get like first 10 minutes on YouTube. Pretty soon, actually, probably with this one, we'll be able to get the YouTube membership rolling. So we'll get that going. So you could, if you prefer to watch everything on YouTube, it'll be there.
Feel free to send us suggestions for topics you'd like us
Yeah, we
to.
keep shifting topics because the world seems to be getting crazier and crazier. Or maybe we're paying attention more. Who knows? Both.
Yeah,
Neither.
it's not, to be clear, it's not a news show.
It isn't. No.
Yeah, it's more of a civics class, but
But
we do try to be relevant.
yeah.
When things are happening, it's all right. So what episode that we recorded recently or that we could
It was
record
Iran.
would be most interesting, to this thing that's happening in the world today. But that's not the same as like being in the news cycle.
Right.
Yeah, it's not topical.
It's
Yeah, I
not
don't think
topical.
we can do news cycle stuff right now or ever.
Yeah, we're trying to keep every episode basically evergreen. But we do shuffle around the timing of release based on what's happening in the world, basically.
Yep.
Yeah, the next one then after that's going to be basically on the SAVE Act,
Yeah.
voter security versus voter suppression, basically.
Yeah, that'll be an important one. All right, so let's see. Anything else that we need to cover? I think that was the majority of it. Make sure you listen to the podcast. There's an email going out about the last week's episode, and then listen to the podcast available a day
Take that
early
first.
on Patreon. You go to Friday, and then we'll go to the TikToks right now. And
All right,
I'll
have a
play
good
some
day,
more.
guys.
All
We'll see
right,
you soon.
You say
Bye, people.
bye. We're going to do the TikTok. Steve. You want to take some of that soda bread to Liz, or
Yeah, I'll
take some and then leave some for Jocelyn?
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Or
mean, it'll
leave
be
a
upstairs on the
bunch.
island.
Yeah.
Thanks, Ian.
All right. See you later. Boom, boom. All right, we have a couple TikToks we're going to do. Chat. So stand by. Steve's going to clear off the desk and the table. Mike. Let's see. Here we go. I think this is the second one. Yep. You said that, Mike. Very good.
Okay.
All right, we're here. Getting centered-ish. Actually, you want to... Is that the center of the table, or scooch over to your left a little bit? Yeah. There we go. Beautiful. Beautiful. Look at that table on that shot. That's pretty good. Oh, you can't see it on this one, but it's there in the TikTok shot. All right.
Okay.
All right, here we go. Stand by.
A brain injury made this man see geometry everywhere, and he began drawing what he saw. His name is Jason Paget. Before 2002, he was a furniture salesman who struggled with math. Then, he suffered a traumatic brain injury during an assault. And afterward, this is how he saw reality. It's called acquired savant syndrome. In rare cases, brain injuries can actually unlock hidden abilities. In Paget's case, areas involved in visual processing and mathematical perception became hyperactive. And here's the craziest part. Scientists have even triggered temporary savant-like abilities by using magnetic stimulation to quiet parts of the brain, which indicates the brain might already contain abilities we rarely access. This whole series explores the brain, so stick around because it's stranger than fiction.
So yeah, acquired savant syndrome is a real thing, although whenever I encounter an explanation of it, it's usually exaggerated. It sort of get the wrong impression of what's really going on. I think a better way to think about it is this. So our brains are comprised of multiple networks, right? Multiple circuits, modules and networks in the brain that do different things. Obviously, it's extremely complicated. And, you know, evolution has arrived at a compromise between complexity and speed. And, you know, but I think in lots of ways erring on, especially with the higher thinking functions, erring on the side of complexity. And of course, everyone has a slightly different, you know, trade-off here. There's a lot of neurodiversity out there. But essentially what happens in acquired savant syndrome is there's damage to the brain. And that damage eliminates one or more of these circuits or networks from the brain function, right? And so in a way, the brain is like bloatware, and you are turning functions off, which makes the overall brain processing work faster because there's less stuff for it to do. So you're losing some function and gaining some speed in other functions that are now disinhibited in that they no longer have to go through this other process. And that's what's happening. So you're not gaining any ability. You're not gaining an ability you didn't already have. It's just that something that you could do, you now can do much more quickly because it's not weighed down by this other complex processing that your brain was doing until part of its circuitry was damaged. That's basically what it is. Not the kind of thing that you necessarily would want to do or that is a net benefit. Again, there's a reason why selective pressures evolution reaches the compromise it does, because those tend to be the most functional. But yes, sometimes certain functions can be disinhibited by taking things out of the loop because there's damage to a circuit. That's basically what acquired savant syndrome is.
Alrighty, okay, acquired savant syndrome. Acquired savant syndrome. All right, we got that one going. That's good.
Yes, you can hear all about Elbridge Jerry in our PR show. That's where the name gerrymandering came from. He was, what party was he a member of, Ian? Remember?
I think he was a Democratic Republican.
He was a Democratic Republican. That's right.
Back when Republican meant something. Sorry.
That was...
I don't remember what year that was. Yeah, if that's what you're going.
That was Thomas Jefferson's party.
Oh, right. You're right. All right. So there's that. All right.
And the name was coined by a journalist from a Boston newspaper. Because they were saying that district is so bizarrely shaped. It looks like a salamander.
Right.
And he said, it's not a salamander, it's a gerrymander. That's where the name came from.
Spoilers. Wait, that's spoilers. They have to listen to the episode still. You have to promise to listen to the episode.
Yes.
All right. All right, moving on.
Oh, God, really? Did you tell you got that picture?
Oh, yeah, let me pull that out before we get into this real quick. Actually, let's do this one first, the evolution, and then I'll get that.
This one could be long.
Okay.
That's okay. Just warning you.
Yes.
I have an appropriate T-shirt on for this one.
Am I crazy for denying evolution? No.
So what reasons, why don't you accept evolution?
Because I think it's absurd. For instance, if you took the claim random mutation produced your brain, that's what evolution would say, right?
It takes a lot of time.
Well, no, time isn't a cause. Do you agree?
Time
really.
Doesn't have a cause at all.
Well, time doesn't cause things physically. Time doesn't act. Like if I put milk outside, time itself doesn't act on the milk and make it rotten, right? Something else does, but time permits it, right?
Correct.
Okay. So you're saying time permits evolution.
Evolution requires time for it to
Everything
work.
requires time, so that doesn't say much. So if I said, is it true that under evolution you think random mutation produced what we call our brain?
Correct.
Okay. So if you're making the claim random mutation produced a brain, and I simply asked, how did that happen?
Like I said, there's a lot. It's a very, very complicated process.
Okay. So you don't know.
There are a lot of things that happened. I do not know all of the details, I will admit.
Okay. It sounds like an interrogation. I felt like I'm asking you, did you murder someone? And you're like, it's really complicated.
Yes.
There's a lot of details. I'm not sure how it happened, but it probably happened.
Just astounding. I mean, why don't you ask an actual evolutionary biologist that question? Right? This is. I found this now. This is a pattern on social media where you create a straw man by showing yourself essentially debating somebody from the public who's not an expert. You know, it seems like they often choose someone who doesn't do a good job of articulating the scientific position, and then you argue against what it seems like that person is asking or saying, and you know, because they are nervous or inarticulate or whatever, you sort of say, well, this is what you're saying, and you create a straw man, and then you knock it down. This is what creationists do because they have no legitimate scientific point at all. So here's the big straw man in this guy's argument. He's saying that random mutations created the brain, but that is not what evolutionary theory says. That is not what evolutionary biologists are saying. Random mutations are just one element of evolution, and by itself doesn't cause anything to come into existence, right? You need to have, evolutionarily, you need to have random mutation and natural selection. So, and even that's not all of evolution as well. That's just, again, one driving mechanism of evolution. So what he's saying is the equivalent of saying, well, I don't believe cars work. Well, why not? It's like, well, because you can't propel the car with the steering wheel. It's like, yeah, but no one says that the steering wheel propels the car. The engine propels the car. Yeah, but the engine can't steer the car. So yeah, but no one says that. It's the steering wheel steers the car, right? So yeah, mutations increase the available genetic material, right? It increases the number of different kinds of sequences of genes. And then natural selection, essentially is a statement that those genes which confer, those alleles, those forms of different genes, which confer an advantage in the immediate niche that organism is living in, allows them to live and reproduce and pass their genes on to the next generation, are more likely to predominate than ones that don't produce as much of an advantage, right? So over time, you have this increase in genetic diversity, and then with a very non-random selection of those that happen to provide advantages in that to that organism going forward. And rinse and repeat a billion times, over hundreds of millions of years, and you can, a lot of complexity can be generated out of that. If you're going to argue against evolutionary theory, at least correctly state what it is. Otherwise, everything you were saying is completely and utterly meaningless, because you're talking about a straw man that nobody believes. And then I have to say, this is a new one on me, and it's very rare that I now hear a new argument coming from a creationist. But the other straw man that he creates is time itself is not a force that does something. Okay, well, who says that it is? And he gives this ridiculous analogy like time itself isn't curdling the milk. It's like, okay, yeah, but it takes time for, all she was meaning, it takes time for things to happen. You were saying, again, which is a point that, again, he clearly was missing. Yes, it may seem extraordinary that something as complex as the human brain can just evolve with natural processes. And part of the reason why it seems extraordinary is because we don't have a good intuitive sense of how long 500 million years, for multicellular evolution, 500 million plus years is. That's a really long time. That's a lot of generations. And we don't have an intuitive grasp of that. And so that's all she meant. Not that time itself is making something happen. And that's just a ridiculous straw man. I also read the comments below this video, and there are some people who are trying to introduce some actual, science in the comments, but there's a lot of creationists repeating all the standard creationist tropes in there. Again, creationists don't argue against things that evolutionary biologists actually say. They have to invent often pretty childish and pretty simplistic and silly straw men to argue against. And I think a lot of the times they're arguing against their own misunderstanding of evolutionary theory. Now, partly I get it, because it is complicated. He was mocking her by saying it's complicated. It is complicated. It's apparently too complicated for you to understand, because you demonstrate zero understanding of what evolutionary theory actually says. That's why we have to point out it's complicated, because you clearly don't understand it. So one of the common, I'll just talk about one common trope in the comments, the idea that, well, we've never seen macro evolution in the fossil record. You only see animals evolving into other forms, creatures evolving into other forms of those same types of creatures. But the thing is, that is correct, but it misunderstands, again, what evolutionary theory is. It is true that fish always beget fish. By definition, cladistically, that is true. But here's the thing. Humans are fish. I know that sounds weird, but from a cladistic point of view, once, a clade is one creature and all of its descendants. So once the first fish evolved, all of its descendants are still fish. They're just subtypes, subclades of the fish clade. So people are fish. We are also reptiles, because reptiles are a subclade of fish. And we are also mammals, because mammals are a subclade of reptiles, which are a subclade of fish. And we're also primates and hominoids and hominids and Homo and Homo sapiens. We are always, and we will always be in all of those clades. You could never evolve into a different clade. You can't evolve a dog into a cat, as they say, right? But we're never claiming that happened. but they underestimate what that means. Like the amount, yes, it's correct. You're always a fish, but people are fish. And so the notion that that somehow constrains evolution so that you can't account for all life on Earth is simply wrong. You can. You know, if you go back in time to just the basic body plans that emerged out of the Cambrian explosion, and then all of the subclades and subclades and subclades that derive from them, you absolutely can create a tree of life that accounts for all living things that we see. And in, you know, basically what we call nested hierarchies. And in fact, that's a really strong piece of evidence for macroevolution, for evolution of like that all life on Earth is related through nested hierarchies of relatedness. That's the picture that emerges when you look at all the evidence, all the genetic evidence, all the molecular evidence, all the fossil evidence. It all points in the same direction towards all life is the result of evolution. All life is related to all other life through this hierarchy, this nested hierarchy of clades. Saying, well, we never saw a cat evolve into a dog, completely misses the point and only demonstrates your own misunderstanding of evolutionary theory. And that's what I saw reading dozens and dozens of comments to this video. Like the person in the video itself, the arguments are straw men based largely in their own deep misunderstanding of evolutionary theory. They really need to pick up a book to do some reading that is not from what we call a secondary hostile source. You can't learn about evolution reading only creationist attacks on evolution. You need to read evolutionary biologists, scientists' description of what evolution actually says. And just as a general rule, a good scientific, skeptical, scholarly rule, do not rely on secondary hostile sources to understand what somebody's position is. You have to go to the source, a primary source. What do biologists say about evolution? Not what do creationist attacks say that biologists say, because they get it consistently wrong. And this video is just another great example of that.
Very good. Evolution and time.
I mean, the time argument was so dead stupid. I mean, it was.
I guess if there is no time, nothing rots.
Yeah.
It's like, okay.
It's not time itself, Ian.
Yeah. Oh, right. You're right. It's not time.
Time itself doesn't cause your milk to curdle.
Right.
Oh wow. That's philosophically deep, bro.
It's the milk that curdles, not the bacteria that's curdling. Whatever. I don't know. It's painful. All right. So I got this image as well. So there's that image if we want to look at that. And then there's this is the video. All right. We'll move on to this guy. Unmuted. All right, here we go.
DNA is faker than space. Let me explain. So this is apparently the only known picture of DNA. But it's not actually a real image. It's CGI. I asked ChatGPT about this. So these super advanced scientists use advanced tools like electron microscopes and X-ray imaging. And these create data patterns and scans that scientists interpret to understand DNA structure. The famous twisted ladder image you see is a scientific model, not a direct photograph. So there are no real images of DNA. They're visualizations of evidence. Huh. Isn't that weird? So think about this. You know how the whole concept of space, it's all CGI? They say that the Hubble telescope is gathering data and scientists interpret numbers on a screen and create an image out of it. The same thing goes for extremely microscopic things in the scientific world. Now, I'm not saying all of it's fake. I think we can observe things about gene expression that are always repeatable and observable and provable, right? But when your entire foundation of science, evolution, space, when it's all built on the cornerstone of CGI images and you just have to blindly trust the authorities, how do we know any of this is actually real? I made this video entirely for entertainment purposes only.
I actually don't know. Honestly, I don't know if this guy's a Poe or legitimate, but it doesn't matter. He is displaying a type of argument that is worth dealing with. And I've watched many of his videos, and they follow a very typical pattern, as he's doing here, where he's saying, we've never directly observed this. This is just scientists guessing based on indirect evidence, and therefore it's a conspiracy or it's unreliable, or I think this other thing is true. Then he just completely speculates about something else. So he doesn't understand how science operates, so I can clear this up for him. So all of science is inference from the evidence that we have to the best answer, to the most likely answer, all of it. We don't have proof or incontrovertible evidence that anything is absolutely metaphysically must be true. It's all inference, but it's inference with more or less direct observation, direct evidence to a higher or lower level of confidence. So you kind of have to know, well, what is the evidence? How direct is it? And how solid are the conclusions? How good is that inference? Are there any other options? And so he seems to say, well, since we have this picture that the structure of DNA was based on, Rosalind Franklin's diffraction X-ray image, crystallography of DNA that shows its double helix structure. First of all, it is a direct image. It's just an X-ray crystallography. He said, well, it's because it's, we're not looking literally at the molecular structure of the DNA. The scientists don't really know what it is. It's like, no, we can make a hypothesis. We gather evidence. That evidence either supports or refutes that hypothesis. We refine the hypothesis. We make it more detailed. We deepen it. We look at other evidence, and we keep going to get better and better inferences to more and more likely answers about how the world works. That's it. That's all of science. If you're looking for proof, go somewhere else. That science doesn't give you proofs, right? It just gives you what is the most likely answer based upon the evidence that we have. But also, he's absolutely wrong that that's the only picture of DNA. No, it's not even the only type of picture of DNA. And no, images of DNA are not CGI. There are CGI images for educational purposes, but that's not the evidence that we use. In fact, not too long ago, scientists using electron scanning microscopy, which is like the most detailed microscopy, to the most precise, smallest structures that we could see, that we currently have, were able to directly image a DNA double helix. And you can see a strand of DNA. And you could zoom in and see, you could see how tightly it's wound up. And you could tell, you could infer lots of things about the structure of the DNA. And it fits with chemical analysis that tells us what the structure of DNA is. And also the genetics of DNA and how it behaves. We can build DNA out of the building blocks, right? The amino acids that make, not the amino acids, the base pairs. Could you reverse that a bit? We can create DNA out of the base pairs, the GATAGA, right? The CGAT base pairs that form the DNA, right? So we could deal with it chemically, we could deal with it genetically, we could deal with it structurally. And it all fits together to fit our theory about what DNA is and what it does and how it works. And we've been doing this for 80 years, specifically with DNA, 70, 80 years. And there's countless experiments from different perspectives, all reaffirming and consistent with our inference about the structure of DNA and what it does. So no, this isn't just, there's one picture and then we took a guess and that's all we got and everything else is just made up in CGI. That's just utter nonsense. The other sort of meta point to make here is that all this information is freely available on the internet. And if you were genuinely curious about what is the information base of the structure of DNA, have we ever directly imaged DNA, et cetera, you could search for that on the web. And there's lots of really good resources there. So for people who are actually curious, you can find lots of great information online, in addition to in textbooks. And of course, now lots of textbooks are online, and there's lots of videos by actual experts who will explain this to you. And you can get quite the nice education with freely available information online. if, again, you're genuinely curious, you look for reliable sources and you really try to, understand what the information base is, rather than just, this is weird, it's probably not true, it's all made up, it's fake. DNA is fake, like space is fake. Come on, that is not an intellectually legitimate activity that this guy is engaging in, and yet he feels like he needs to spread this online, which is why I think, again, it's probably a coin flip whether he's a Poe or not. But again, a lot of people don't understand how science actually operates and what the information base actually is. So it's good to point it out and to remind people that you should, before you conclude something, you don't have to come to a conclusion about something you don't understand, but you should ask somebody who knows more than you do. You should look for the information online, be open-minded, and really, see what does the evidence actually say, rather than just constructing some dramatic narrative, mystery mongering, conspiracy theory because it plays well on TikTok.
Alrighty.
That's it.
That's it. That was the one. I'll just call it DNA. Call that DNA. All right, everybody. That has been the live stream. Political Reality Podcast episodes dropping today. New one. The SGU podcast Friday for patrons, Saturday for everybody else. What else we got going on? AQ6 is in the works. I know people keep asking about that.
Have any of the newer episodes dropped?
No.
Oh, come on,
I
Ian.
know.
What's happening?
All right, we're working on it over here.
I know. We've launched two new video podcasts at the same time.
Yeah.
And we have a bottleneck in our editor. But we have a lot of episodes now in the can that are making their way through the pipeline. They'll be out soon.
They're soon. It's happening, I swear.
But the highest priority is going to actually be on Project Hail Mary, because we want to get that out as soon as we can.
That one definitely.
Because it's probably the biggest sci-fi blockbuster this year.
Totally.
I did read the book. I read it right when it came out, so it's been a few years. Excellent. Love the book. Someone asked, should you watch the movie or read the book first? That's personal preference. I like watching the movie first, because the book usually fleshes out the movie, but the movie doesn't spoil you for the book nearly as much as the book spoils you for the movie, I think. And then when you read the book, like, you have images in your head about what the characters are like and what things look like, and then the movie always disappoints. Like, your imagination's always better than the movie. But you watch the movie and it's fun. Then you read like a more detailed story. The only some people say they like reading the book first because they don't want the movie images in their head when they're reading the book.
Oh, yeah.
And I see that. But again, that's why it's kind of personal preference. Actually, the best thing I did one time, like, I read the first 4 or 5 chapters of Dune and then saw the movie and then finished the book, and I thought that worked out really well.
Oh, yeah.
Because the movie, like, this is the 1980s David Lynch version of the movie, was hard to follow. So I read just enough of the book so I had all the backstory.
Right.
And so it really made the movie understandable for me, but I didn't know the rest of the story.
Yeah,
and then reading the book and seeing all the changes they made in the movie was interesting. But whatever, there's no right or wrong answer. But those are things to think about if you're trying to choose what order in which to watch a movie or read a book. This is definitely something where I would, even if you watch the movie, I would definitely read. It's worth reading the book. Like The Martian. The Martian, by the same, by David Weir. Is it David? It is Weir, right?
I think.
The author. Andy Weir. Thank you. Andy Weir. The Martian book was excellent. And the movie adaptation of the book was also excellent. But you do get a lot. There's just more rich detail you get from reading the book.
All right. That's it.
That's it.
That's it, y'all.
We'll see you guys next
All right,
time.
See you next time. Have a good one.
Thank you, Ian. Bye-bye.